All right, folks, let's step back to a chilly night in 1981 when Natalie Wood, Hollywood's brightest star, vanished from her private yacht. The next morning, she was found floating in the ocean, gone in a mystery that still haunts us. She had it all: fame, a mansion, and a marriage to Robert Wagner. But her death left the world wondering: accident, suicide, or murder? Wagner, the man she loved, was suspected of hiding the truth. Hollywood, with all its dazzling lights, might have buried the answers. Natalie, the icon with the perfect smile, lived with insecurities, hiding secrets the world never saw. Jealousy and drama consumed her. What happened that fateful night? Who pushed her into the darkness? Or did Hollywood cover up a crime? This story's full of doubt, secrets, and truths yet to be uncovered. Are you ready to dig into what really happened behind Natalie Wood's death? Chapter 1. A Spark of Hope. The Girl Under the Spotlight. On the morning of November 29th, 1981, the sea off Catalina Island was calm, lapping gently until a heart-stopping sight appeared: Natalie Wood's body floating, her nightgown soaked, wool socks clinging to her feet, next to a rubber dinghy. She was a Hollywood star who dreamed of a fairy-tale love with Robert Wagner, but there she lay, surrounded by suspicions that love itself had cast her into the shadows. How did a girl who craved love end up in those icy waters? To understand, we've got to go back to the beginning, when the stage lights turned a little girl into an icon. On July 20th, 1938, Natalia Zakarenko, better known as Natalie Wood, was born in a rickety wooden house in San Francisco. Her Russian immigrant family scraped by, but her mother, Maria, saw only stardom. She believed Natalie was destined to shine, and by age 4, Maria had her on movie sets. A crew member from Happy Land in 1943 said Natalie stood under the lights, eyes sparkling, like she wanted to hug the whole world. But Maria gave her no freedom. She forced Natalie to memorize lines, smile, and cry on command. Once, to get the perfect shot, Maria told her their family cat died horribly, just to make her sob. Harsh, right, but it worked. At 8, Natalie played Susan in Miracle on 34th Street in 1947. That Christmas movie made America fall in love with her. Suddenly, she had everything: glamorous dresses, fancy parties, and camera flashes that never stopped. Hollywood opened its doors like she was born to dazzle. But deep down, Natalie felt empty. She longed for love and warmth her mother never gave, while other kids played. Natalie memorized scripts late into the night, under Maria's cold stare. "You have to be number one," Maria would say, her voice sharp as a blade. Once, when Natalie forgot a line, Maria gripped her hand so tight it bruised, whispering, "Don't let me down." Those words left a scar. That little girl also had a strange fear. Water. A crew member said Natalie trembled near a pool, clutching her dress, like she saw something in the depths. She had fame, a future, but lived with a loneliness the spotlight couldn't chase away. Natalie dreamed of a love to free her from Hollywood's golden cage. But would that dream lead her to light, or would love, the thing she chased her whole life, become the darkness that swallowed her? Chapter 2. Shame in the Spotlight at 17. Natalie Wood stepped out of Rebel Without a Cause in 1955 with a smile that melted Hollywood. She was the star of youth, in shimmering silk dresses, admired by the world. But here's a chilling truth to earn that spotlight. Natalie walked through Hollywood's darkest shadows. A close friend said she once came back from the Chateau Marmont Hotel, eyes red, trembling, after meeting a powerful man. Those secrets, like knife wounds, cut deep, shaping dramatic relationships that led her to Robert Wagner, the man later suspected of hiding the truth about her death. How did a star like Natalie live with shame no one saw? Rebel Without a Cause earned Natalie an Oscar nomination, making her an icon of the rebellious generation. But the cost of playing Judy was horrific. Reports say that during auditions, 16-year-old Natalie was sexually abused by the director, Nicholas Ray, who was 42. She didn't dare speak up, terrified of losing everything. Worse, her sister Lana Wood wrote that their mother took Natalie to meet a big star believed to be Kirk Douglas, and she was sexually assaulted. According to Suzanne Finstad's biography, Natalie was physically hurt but too scared to go to the police. "I just want to forget," she whispered to a co-worker, her voice breaking. Hollywood, where she shone, was a maze of shadows where young women were exploited. The pressure never let up. In 1949, on the set of The Green Promise, 9-year-old Natalie nearly drowned when a bridge collapsed during a scene. She broke her wrist, panicked, and from then on, deep water became her nightmare. "I don't want to be near the ocean," she told a crew member, hands shaking as she looked at the water. But Hollywood didn't give her a break. Producers pushed her into lavish parties where smiles were mandatory and truths were buried. A stagehand said Natalie drank to stay calm, but her eyes looked lost in the crowd. Amid the trauma, Natalie fell into dramatic relationships. She dated Elvis Presley, enchanted by his charisma. But in Memphis, Elvis's mother controlled everything, and Natalie fled after a few days. "I couldn't take it," she told a friend, her voice bitter. Each relationship was another crack, as if Hollywood wouldn't let her find peace. Then she met Robert Wagner, who seemed to promise a different future. A crew member said Natalie beamed when she talked about Wagner, but sometimes she looked at him with doubt, as if sensing a secret waiting to surface. Natalie had fame, beauty, but lived with shame the spotlight couldn't erase. Hollywood made her a star, but pushed her down a dangerous path, where secrets and jealousy would erupt. Was Wagner her escape from Hollywood's maze, or would he become the darkest shadow in her life? Chapter 3. Fragile Happiness. At 19, Natalie Wood walked into her 1957 wedding with Robert Wagner, her smile as radiant as Hollywood's lights. She was the star of West Side Story, living in a stunning mansion, wearing fitted Dior gowns, adored by the world. But here's a shocking truth even in her happiest days. Natalie felt uneasy, as if a dark secret was lurking. A close friend said she once looked at Wagner with a flicker of doubt, like she feared he was hiding something. Hollywood gave her fame and Wagner, but it also planted seeds of jealousy and drama. How did a star like Natalie, with the world at her feet, live with an invisible fear? By 1961, Natalie was at her peak. Her role as Maria in West Side Story captivated audiences, and Splendour in the Grass earned her a second Oscar nomination. She graced every magazine, from Vogue to Life, holding champagne at extravagant parties, but Hollywood never let her rest. Producers worked her endlessly, and past shadows still haunted her. A crew member said Natalie drank to stay calm, but sometimes she'd stand quietly in front of a mirror, whispering, "Everything's too perfect, isn't it?" Her voice trembled, as if she knew this happiness was fragile. Her marriage to Wagner seemed like a dream. They were Hollywood's golden couple, sailing on their yacht Splendour, partying with stars like Frank Sinatra. But beneath the surface, cracks appeared. Natalie's sister, Lana Wood, later wrote that Natalie caught Wagner in an unforgivable situation, rumored to be with a man. She was heartbroken but kept quiet, fearing a scandal would ruin them both. A friend said Natalie once left a party early, eyes red, when Wagner got too friendly with a guest. She tried to smile, but her hand gripped her wine glass tightly. The marriage fell apart in 1962. Natalie turned to Richard Gregson, a producer, and had her daughter Natasha in 1970. But that marriage crumbled in 1971 when she found Gregson cheating. Then, like fate, Natalie reunited with Wagner in 1972. They had a daughter, Courtney, and happiness seemed to return. A coworker said Natalie hosted parties on Splendour, glowing beside Wagner, but sometimes she looked at him oddly, as if sensing an unspoken secret. Wagner, friends said, grew jealous, especially when Natalie got close to male co-stars. Natalie had it all: a mansion, fame, a family, but Hollywood, with its parties and lights, was also where jealousy and secrets thrived. She lived in the spotlight, but unease always lingered, like waves lapping at Splendour's hull. Every smile was a mask hiding doubt. She tried to hold on to happiness, but could it last? Would Wagner, the man she trusted, hide a secret that would push her into darkness forever? Chapter 4. Shadows on the Horizon at 43. Natalie Wood stepped onto the set of Brainstorm in 1981, her smile as bright as ever. She was a Hollywood legend, once ruling the screen, living in a grand mansion, hosting lavish parties. But here's a chilling truth in her final days. Natalie lived with unease, as if she sensed darkness closing in. A close friend said she once stood silently on Splendour, staring at the Black Sea, whispering, "I shouldn't be here." Hollywood still called her name, but jealousy and secrets in her marriage to Robert Wagner were pulling her into a storm. How did a star like Natalie feel so powerless against fate? In 1981, Natalie was fighting to reclaim her spotlight. Brainstorm, co-starring Christopher Walken, was her chance to prove Hollywood hadn't forgotten her. But the pressure was crushing. A co-worker said she worked tirelessly, but her eyes often seemed distant, like she was escaping something. She drank and took sedatives to stay calm, per reports, as she'd done to face Hollywood's fake parties. "I just want things to be easier," she told a crew member, her voice shaky. Splendour, her and Wagner's yacht, was her refuge, but also where she faced her lifelong fear of deep water. Her marriage to Wagner, rekindled in 1972, was now strained. Wagner, friends said, grew increasingly jealous, especially of Walken, who Natalie was close to on set. A Brainstorm crew member said Wagner once showed up unannounced, his eyes cold as he watched Natalie laugh with Walken. He didn't like her near anyone, they said. Natalie tried to keep the peace, hosting parties on Splendour, but the mood was heavy. She wore a red sweater, smiled stiffly, but gripped her champagne glass as if sensing a lurking secret. On November 28, 1981, Natalie, Wagner, Walken, and Captain Dennis Davern boarded Splendour for a holiday weekend after Thanksgiving. They dined at Doug's Harbor Reef on Catalina Island, ordering champagne and laughing. But a waiter said Natalie seemed anxious, glancing at Wagner, like she feared something back on the yacht. Moonlight lit the dark water, and the mood shifted. Davern later said Wagner's jealousy exploded when Natalie chatted happily with Walken. A friend recalled Natalie joking about the sea. "If I disappear, don't look for me in the water." That line, in hindsight, feels eerie. Natalie had fame, a family, but lived with unease the spotlight couldn't dispel. Hollywood gave her everything, but also pushed her to a dangerous edge, where Wagner's jealousy and marital secrets erupted. Every smile on Splendour hid fear. She tried to hold on to her stardom, but darkness was closing in. Was Wagner's jealousy the gust that pushed Natalie into that fateful storm? Chapter 5. Desperation on the Water. Natalie Wood, the Hollywood star who captivated the world, stood on Splendour the night of November 28, 1981, moonlight glinting off the inky sea. She was an icon of glamour, but trapped in a storm of jealousy and secrets. Here's a chilling truth hours later. Natalie vanished. Her body found floating, nightgown drenched, with bruises telling a different story. Captain Dennis Davern later revealed Robert Wagner, her husband, shouted in rage. "And when Natalie went missing," he said, "don't look for her." How did a night of partying on a yacht turn into a tragedy no one saw coming? That night, after a champagne-filled dinner at Doug's Harbor Reef on Catalina Island, Natalie, Wagner, Walken, and Davern returned to Splendour. The air was tense as a tightrope. Davern said in a 2011 interview that Wagner's jealousy flared when Natalie laughed with Walken. "They fought like they'd tear the cabin apart," he said. Around 11:05 that night, Natalie, in a flannel nightgown, stormed outside in anger. Then she was gone. Wagner and Walken searched the yacht, calling her name, but only waves answered, shockingly. Wagner waited until 1:30 in the morning to call the Coast Guard. Someone on a nearby boat said they heard a woman's cries for help, but on Splendour, no one admitted hearing them. The next morning, Natalie's body was found a mile from the yacht, near an empty dinghy. The initial autopsy said she drowned accidentally, with a blood alcohol level of 0.14% and sedatives in her system, but in 2013, a new report shook Hollywood. Bruises on Natalie's arms, thighs, neck, and forehead appeared before she hit the water. Dr. Michael Franco, an investigator, said, "This doesn't look like a fall. She might have been pushed or pulled." Scratches on the dinghy showed she tried to hold on, but couldn't. Her lifelong fear of deep water made it hard to believe she'd board the dinghy alone. In 2011, Davern broke his silence. He admitted lying initially and accused Wagner of knowing more. He said Wagner was wildly jealous, even telling him not to call for help when Natalie vanished. "I think he's responsible," Davern told NBC, his voice heavy. A friend of Natalie's said she'd worried about Wagner's jealousy, especially with Walken on Brainstorm. Hollywood, with its lights and parties, fed secrets and drama, pushing Natalie to a dangerous brink. Natalie had fame, a family, but that night, she had only despair. Every wave against Splendour was a warning. She tried to cling to her stardom, but Wagner's jealousy and dark secrets consumed her. Did Wagner push Natalie into those icy waters, or was it a tragic accident Hollywood hid? Chapter 6. Guilt and Doubt. Natalie Wood, the star who lit up Hollywood, is now an eternal mystery. Her body found floating off Catalina in 1981. She was an icon of glamour, but her death left a stain that won't fade. Here's a haunting truth nearly 40 years later. Robert Wagner, her husband, was named a person of interest in the investigation. While Captain Dennis Davern lives with regret for staying silent too long, Hollywood, with its bright lights and secrets, may have hidden the truth. How does a tragedy like this still grip the world? Natalie's death rocked Hollywood. The public split. Some believed she was drunk and slipped off Splendour. Others suspected Wagner. In 2011, Davern broke his silence on NBC, admitting he lied in early reports. He heard Wagner and Natalie screaming that night, and when she vanished, Wagner said, "Don't look for her. I think he's responsible," Davern said, voice choking. A friend said Davern often drank, staring at the sea, muttering, "I should have done something. He lives with guilt," as if he left Natalie in those cold waters. In 2012, Natalie's cause of death was changed to drowning and undetermined factors, based on bruises that appeared before she hit the water. Per a 2013 autopsy report, in 2018, Wagner, then 88, was named a person of interest by Los Angeles police, but no evidence was strong enough to charge him. Natalie's sister, Lana Wood, wrote that she believes Wagner knows the truth, but Hollywood protected him. A journalist from the Times said major studios were oddly quiet, as if fearing a scandal would topple an icon. Wagner stayed silent, living in his mansion, but friends said he drank to escape unanswerable questions. Hollywood, with its dazzling lights, is also where secrets thrive. Doubts about Wagner, his jealousy of Walken, the delayed call for help still haunt the public. Yet no one's been charged. Davern, burdened by guilt, and Lana, grieving her sister, keep searching for truth. Natalie, the star of Rebel Without a Cause, is now an emblem of an unsolved mystery. She had fame, a family, but her death left questions no one can answer. Every Hollywood light seems to whisper the truth may stay buried beneath the sea. Natalie lived in glamour, but died in doubt. Jealousy and secrets consumed her, leaving a void nothing can fill. Will the truth of that fateful night stay buried by Hollywood, or will light one day pierce the darkness?